Thank you so much, by the way. Okay, so I'll share the screen now for the prayer. Namadang gompo jetsu jampe yana chatse lo gangi lo ju jivni jinja nita namda rapsa we dinye dugu yiji ziji niki tu ka le bam zing kangda zipe zunjar mari nuntom dunga yisir we Rozo gunla puji tarze yela juju yanten sung Rukdar cherdo nyunmo nilo leki chadru rute jing Mari munzel dunga nyugu jinye juze rajinam Döne dajin saçı tarzın yünden ruzo yaze tu gucurak çudan cuni cence dağlı münse campe yaladı omara bazana dedi 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 omara bazana dedi 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 omara bazana dedi 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 오마라바찬나디 제데제기 젠랍 으세기 다글 디모무파 랍사네 가단 텐치 슝루 도바이 로르 보베 나와 자두소 강제 다와르드 밤 존재 디와르드 나양 공부 자면 제니니 백매 발양 통화를 쇼. Okay, welcome to our class for today. So last time we covered how the yatak works. Are there any questions on the yatak? Is the yatak clear? The only weird part of the yatak is this on the screen right now. I'll just repeat it once more, just so it's clear. The fourth row, if it has a yatak, sounds like the second row. By the way, I was telling James last time when I first encountered Tibetan language, I was in Portland, and I attended a free class by a teacher who had just arrived from India. In my trip, she just gave a free introduction to reading Tibetan, and she didn't teach the way I am teaching in terms of columns and rows, and it made it very difficult to learn the rules. Actually, I was very confused because, for example, here I can just tell you, okay, fourth row becomes second row. That's all you have to learn. She was teaching individually each letter, like, okay, every time I see a pa, I have to, and there's a yatak, then it becomes a cha, then like this, Then I had to memorize so many more rules, and same for the columns. Like I had to memorize, oh, this letter, this letter, this letter goes high tone, this letter. It was quite a headache, So just so you guys know, especially in the future, after you learn this, you also will be able to teach. If somebody wants to learn, you can teach them to read because it's not so difficult. So this method of the columns and the rows is really nice. It really saves a lot of time. So this is one example where we can see how I just tell you fourth row becomes second row, and that's the rule. So yatak, there is exceptions. There's usually an exception or two. So for the yatak, the exception is if there is by the way, I didn't mention this, but the way we would spell out loud, the way we would jorlok prefix, we put an O sound before it. So this Dao, if I'm spelling it out loud, I would say Dao. Dao. When there is this O sound, it means I'm spelling a prefix. Just like if I put something underneath, I say yatak. Yatak means underneath. The O sound means is the spelling out loud. The spelling out loud of a prefix in Tibetan. So I'm going to spell this. By the way, the other rule for spelling that, and this is the last one, is that after I mention, I will spell like this part, and then when I spell the suffix, because the secondary suffix doesn't really do anything, really, I'll spell nga sa nga. I put them together. I don't spell them individually. Okay? So I'll give an example. It'll be clear after I say. So this would be spelled Dao, Ba, Yatak, Ja, Giku, Ji, Nga, Sa, Ying. So this is the surprise that this is not pronounced Jing, this is pronounced Ying. So whenever there is a Dao, this becomes a Ying, double, sorry, a Y-I-N-G sound in this case, Ying. Even though this, according to this rule, this should be pronounced Ja, because this is a Ba, Yatak. It should be pronounced Ja, like this. The exception when it happens when there is a Dao. Is that clear? This is the
I
exception
think
to the
so.
rule.
Can you
Yeah.
actually say you said there was the rule for pronouncing or spell, I guess it was spelling a prefix, and you said it was O? You say O?
Yeah. Yeah. O. O.
O. Okay.
O. Like Dao. This is Da, right?
Yeah.
So I say Dao. For example, let me find another prefix. This will be also Dao. What are the, oh, I think they're up here, right? The prefixes. So this would be Ao, Ja, Shap, Yu, Ju, Ga, Juk. This would be Bao, Daga, Dak. Actually, Dag. Bao, Daga, Dak. Self. This would be.
So ba becomes bo when the ba is in the prefix position.
Bao, like
Bao.
I say bao. I say the full letter, bao. Like this ma, right? So I would say mao, ga, naro, go.
Okay.
Go. I just add an O sound to the existing letter, and that is telling the listener that this is a prefix when spelling out loud. Yeah. Don't worry, keep these rules in mind, but I wouldn't worry so much about them because this is if you're speaking with someone, and actually translating literary Tibetan in a way is more relaxed because you can sit with your book, drink your coffee, look at the dictionary. If you're translating orally, if you're interpreting, it's a lot more challenging because you have to be on the moment all the time, you know? It's very quick and a little bit more stressful, I guess, you know. But literally, we're relaxed, you know. We're in a room with our lamp, uh, going through all the meanings, thinking about how to mix it. Yeah. So this is a relaxed class. That's what I'm trying to say. So,
sorry, I have a question about the spelling that you just did.
Yeah.
Going through, where was it?
This one?
No, the last one. Yeah, yes, over here, the space, the dhatu. When you went through the root letter, so you first say, I suppose, ba, then you say yatak, and then you would say what? You say, you would first say, according to the rule of rows,
Yeah.
ja, or
Yeah.
the final result, which is yeah.
You would say you would add it. You would add it to what you
Incrementally.
have so far. What you have so far.
Okay, okay. So
You add what you
you
have so far, and then you add more.
at which stage you would say it as yeah.
Oh, because I already said Dao, then I would say yeah. Actually, maybe I
Oh, okay, so
mispronounced it.
you
Yeah.
say Dao, then you say the root letter ba
Ba.
or
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dao ba
ba, and then
ya
yatak yeah.
ya gigu yi
Okay,
na
okay, got it.
sa ying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because
thank you.
I already gave out the Dao, so
Yeah.
then
Okay, okay.
yeah. But basically it's yeah, you use it's cumulative.
Yeah,
Like
so
I say,
you use the information that you have till that point.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So yin is quite a popular word. It's all over the place in the sadhanas. It means there is no English word, unfortunately, but it means basic space. Like maybe you guys have heard this term chuni. I'm sorry, chuying, like the dharma dhatu.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's my WhatsApp name, perhaps. So my Sanskrit would be dharma dhatu, and the Tibetan is chuying. Chö is dharma. Cha naru chö sa chö. Now you guys can visualize it if I say it. Cha, the second one, with the two little bellies. Cha naru cho sa chö. Oh, but we haven't done that rule yet, but we'll see how that sound changes.
Yeah. Last class, when you sent us that Tibetan book of prayers, which is fantastic. I think you pronounced that churcher. And so is that Dharma Dharma? Is that what
Oh
that's
yeah, the first one is dharma chö, and the second chö is means activity or conduct or something like that.
okay?
Yeah, the first one is aspirated, and the second one is unaspirated. Chö chö, that's but yeah, it's very subtle difference. But you just hear chö chö, people saying chö chö, and then you're like, okay, I know what you mean. But yeah, the first one is dharma. That's correct for that. I will spell it later for you guys. Actually, it's very fun also when you can type Tibetan to Google Tibetan words and see what comes up. You go to some interesting sites. Okay, so this is Ying. That rule is clear for everyone. If there is a Dao, the yatak becomes a ya sound, a Ying. And like I was saying, this is Dhatu. It means a basic space. The Dharma Dhatu is the basic space of all phenomena. Could be it's a synonym of emptiness also. Yang, this is pronounced yang. Da, ba, yatak, ya, ngasa, yang. Yang means melody. And it's also the word for vowels as well in Tibetan. So the vowels are called yang because they are the melody of the syllable, and also Federico sent us a really beautiful picture of Saraswati. Her name is Yang Chenma. Also, her name is also this coming from this Yang. Manjushri also is Jampe Yang, sometimes one of his names. Also this melody. Somehow this wisdom is somehow related to sound. And actually, this is just a side note that I find interesting. The reason we're praying to Manjushri is because this falls under the 5 sciences. I think I said it in the first class. The first of the 5 major Buddhist sciences is literally it means sound, is Da. So somehow this study of sound is very closely related to the study of grammar. Because it's the way we would, but as bodhisattvas, there is a sutra which I mentioned in something I'm writing now, and the sutra says that the bodhisattvas need to study grammar so that they can understand the meaning properly. And then they study logic so that they can explain and remove the misunderstandings of all beings by means of proper logic. So this notion of sound being connected with grammar and music, I think to some extent music is also somehow connected. That's why Saraswati is playing the sitar.
Oh,
Yeah, there is a we're in a way we're studying music also in this class. You know, this is the music of the sound, and the grammar is the meaning behind those sounds that we're making. So I find it very cool personally. So that's why, just a little side note here. Yang is melody. My friend Ani Choyang, Dharma Melody, that's her name, Choyang, popular name also in Tibetan. Also many girls are called Yangchen. Her name is Saraswati. And I gave one more example here, which is Yar, means summer. Actually, Yarka means summer. And so this, when there is a Dao, is a high pitch. Yeah, Yar, Ying, Yang, Yarka. If we see this Yar, which is Yara, Yar, is a little bit lower pitch. Just a little note on here on the tone we would use. Okay. Is that clear so far? Yeah. Then these two are easy. The wasur, the reason it's called a wasur is because it's sur means corner, actually. Sur means corner, and then the reason it's called a wasur is because it's the corner of the wa. So this is the wa, and it's this little corner
oh,
that we stick that little corner here. So that's why it's called a wasur. It's like the corner of the wa. That's what's there. That's why if you see this in a Sanskrit, this would be pronounced kwa, like a swa, kwa. You see that on the, for example, in the swaha. The Tibetans say soha, but actually, if we pronounce it with Sanskrit accent, it should be swaha.
so
But Mhm.
does the wasser only go on the ka?
No, it goes on any letter. I just couldn't get like a neutral symbol, so I chose ka because it's the first letter.
Okay,
Actually, it doesn't go on. None of these things go on every letter. I didn't add a list, but it's in that book that I shared.
right.
There is all the where every possibility of where it can go.
Okay,
But I felt it wasn't necessary for our class to mention them all. But if you guys want to look at all the possibilities, they are there. But none of them go on every letter. Each one of these modifications go on only on some of the letters.
thank you.
Yeah, so this is called wasur, and it doesn't do anything to the pronunciation. Sometimes it just helps to find the root letter or to distinguish it from another word that is spelled the same or has the same sound, just to distinguish. The example here is shamo, which means hat. So if this wasur wasn't here, it still would be pronounced shamo. But then I guess it might not be hat. Is the wasur clear? Yeah, basically nothing's happening, you know.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. So that episode, the only French word I know is chapeau. I think chapeau is French for hat, so that sounds
Oh yeah.
similar to
Yeah, they have some connection there.
chapeau.
Chapeau, shamo. Yeah, similar. Now you can memorize this one easily. Shamo. So, okay, that's a wasur. So we only have one, I guess two left on the subscribed letters. This is called achung. Because is this is a little a. Chung means small. So achung means the little a, because you make it little and then you stick it underneath the letter that you're modifying. And then again, achung doesn't have any achung doesn't have any effect on the pronunciation unless you're reading Sanskrit. And by the way, I think I mentioned this. Most of the Tibetans will not know Sanskrit, so they will just ignore it. But if we're reading a Sanskrit written in Tibetan, this is what marks the long versus the short a. For example, in hum, in the syllable hum, you can see this achung underneath. That means that it's a long hum, for example. So you will see, but for our case, just know that it doesn't do anything to the sound. If you're reading it in Tibetan, it doesn't matter.
So do you say it as like ka achung then? How do you?
Ka achung, yeah, you would say ka achung. But it's not
Does that
very
mean
common. Not that I'm aware of. I don't think so. But since you ask, what we can do is maybe we can look at the dictionary, which is the next thing I wanted to share with you guys also. Let's see. I'll just briefly show you the dictionary that I like to use. We're not typing yet, but I thought, why not? Here's the dictionary I use. So this dictionary, I gave the link actually in the book on the typing section. You guys can go. This is my favorite dictionary because this is one from different dictionaries. It gives you so many options, you know. So in this case, this is the word I'm looking. I'm not gonna say it because I haven't covered this rule yet. But this is one dictionary, another dictionary definition. Then there is a Tibetan dictionary, and then there is Sanskrit also on the bottom. So it's a really nice dictionary. So let's see. I guess it means oh. Exclamation used for calling oh, yeah. So that's the meaning of ka with a wasur. So this is the way we would use a dictionary. Because my goal also here is for you guys to, when we finish this class, I want you guys to have all the resources to figure out your own prayers. Then of course I'll still be around. You can ask me questions, but it's better if we also become independent practitioners, right? Okay, is there any questions for this wasur and achung? That clear? Yeah. Okay, so this is the trickiest one out of all the subscribed letters. That's why I left it to the last one. Basically, when we do Ratak, we chop off this section of the Ra and we stick it underneath. Okay, so this is a Ra underneath. They all have Ras. Here, because there is nowhere to attach, we have to add an extra line a little bit. Maybe you guys can see on the Ka. Here also, there's nothing to attach. So when there's nothing to attach, you add a little bit of an extra line underneath. Here also, okay. So these are all Rataks. So again, fortunately, we are learning by rows and columns. So the rule basically is that this is the first row, this is the third row, and this is the fourth row. And no matter where it goes, they always sound like the third row. Then the way we would pronounce this I'm gonna go through this row because this is the one that intuitively is the way it should sound. This is called a retroflex or a cerebral in Sanskrit. The way that sometimes this is in English we write TR, but it doesn't quite exist in Tibetan. The way to pronounce it is, if you say a normal T sound, T, like, oh, I'm taking T, you know, T, then you check T, where that place where your tongue is touching behind the front teeth, T. There is a place up there, T, you know, T. So mark the spot in your brain. And then instead of, usually we're hitting that spot with kind of this part of our tongue. But instead of that, it's called a retroflex because your tongue goes into a retro. So we curve the tongue and we only touch with the tip of the tongue. Like the tongue goes like this, and it touches that same spot. So this would be pronounced ta, ta, ta. It should feel weird because this is a very unusual sound. We don't have this sound in English. Ta, ta. So the tip touches there, ta. And if you want to really sound like you're a Sanskrit expert, then you even touch with the back of your tongue more. Ta, ta. But maybe that might be a little bit too much. If you do ta just with the tip, it works.
So are you saying that on the top line, that ka with the ra becomes a ta?
Yes. Yes,
Why
this
don't
is
they
a
just
very
why don't they just write it like that? Why don't, if it sounds like the way it's written on the second line, why don't they just write it like that?
for the same reason in English they say sewing, SEW.
Ah, okay. Okay.
It's just,
Fair
I don't
enough.
know. Actually, there is a language there's many languages here in Nepal. There is a group here called the Tamang people. It's an ethnic group here in Nepal, and their language is derived from Tibetan, but they migrated to Nepal many hundreds of years ago. I think maybe like 500 or 700 years ago. And actually, this means hair, ta, ta. But they pronounce it gra in their language. So it seems that in the past it was pronounced gra, but something happened along the way. Now it's pronounced ta. So even though the grammar has remained the same, like we read in these ancient texts, written in the time of Guru Rinpoche, we're reading them, but the grammar is the same, but the pronunciation has changed a little bit.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So the language has evolved, the way it's pronounced. Yeah, I mean, this is a really weird, I agree with you. It's very, I also wish they just wrote it that way. But to be honest, go ahead.
For all fairness, a Tibetan might ask, why do you guys don't write in English the way it sounds?
Yeah, that's what I was saying, Actually, English is quite weird. I was thinking we do the same thing when we read Tibetan, that we would read English in a way, because like if I'm reading English, I cannot read like this. Like when I'm reading Spanish, I would read like this pronunciation. Like I go chunk by chunk, but in English, I have to look at the whole word like a block, and then my brain has to process, okay, like this pronunciation. Because it's not, I cannot follow the sound because I have to consider the whole word before I pronounce it.
That's why I love Spanish. When I found Spanish after French and English, it's like, finally a language where they spell what they say.
Yes, exactly. Tibetan is halfway there actually, because there's all these extra letters that are not pronounced, yet you can pronounce it. After this, we only have a couple more rules, and then we would be able to read everything actually, pronounce everything correctly. So yeah, Tibetan is also like you can pronounce everything properly. So rejoice.
Thank you.
So yeah, no problem. Yeah, so also I'm mentioning this because similar like in English, I would look at the whole word as a chunk. Then for each syllable, when we pronounce in Tibetan also, we have to look at the chunk, right? We look at the chunk, our brain process, okay, head letter, whatever, and then you pronounce tung. Then again, you do it. And of course, if you're attending a puja, that happens almost at the speed of light. But maybe you guys have gone through those the playlist I sent on YouTube, and you get a little bit of a sense. And that's actually really slow, just so you know, compared to what the pujas are like. If you guys go to the pujas, or maybe you guys have been to a lung, where the lama is reading the transmission of the text is like lightning speed, you know, and these tempos can keep up. Actually, we think that. Actually, when I first came to Nepal, I was staying in a retreat center, and I could hardly read, and I was sitting at the pujas. I could not keep up at all. So what I did, you guys can try this with some of those videos. I would just read the first syllable of each line. And then eventually I could read 2 syllables. So at least I can keep up and I don't get lost. And eventually you can read 3 syllables. And like that. Because if you go for everything, I mean, we just can't keep up, you know? But if you do one, like, I feel like 1 syllable we could do at our stage. Just go through the first syllable of each line. And then you get a sense of the rhythm, you know? And the eyes, even if we're not pronouncing it also, the eyes can follow much faster than our tongue. So that's also another way to play around with it. I know this is like a big quantum leap for where we're at now, but I think it's beneficial, you know? I was in that situation also, and now looking back, I think it helped me somehow. So that's why I'm inviting you guys to just push through, and it may seem crazy, but just jump there and like feel the sound of the blessings, the yang of the Dharma. Okay, so the rule here is that everything sounds like the third row. They will never happen on the second row. That's why I didn't add it here. But they will happen in the first, and also on the first 3 columns. They will never happen on the fourth column. That's why our chart is only this. So the first row and the fourth row and the third row, they all sound like the third row. And the way we would pronounce it is this retroflex sound, ta. Like I said, you put the tongue up there, ta.
Yeah.
And this is pronounced ta, and this is pronounced ta. So the tone rule remains, except you just put your tongue. Every time you see a Ratak on these letters, you put your tongue up there. Ta. Can I hear some tas? How about Nadine? Would you share your
What
ta
did
with us?
you mean the ta or the ta?
This one, ta, ta,
Ta, ta,
ta. Yeah.
ta,
So the tip,
ta,
the tip of
ta,
the tongue flexes.
yeah,
Ta, ta,
ta, ta,
ta.
ta,
Yeah.
ta,
Nice.
ta.
Good. James?
Ta,
Oh, good.
ta.
I hear this one, but
Oh,
it's
good.
good. The try is good.
I
Yeah.
hear this one, but it's good. The try is
Yeah.
good, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I would say that I thought we were moving on, but I wasn't. Still trying to pronounce the first one.
But yeah, you get the point.
So,
Yeah.
Ta.
But yeah,
Ta.
you get the point. Yeah.
Good. Keep.
So for the first one, right?
Yeah.
Ta,
Ta. Yeah. Ta.
ta, ta,
Ta. Ta.
ta.
Good. It should feel really weird because we've never used our tongue in that way.
It does feel
So
weird.
yeah, it's good. If it feels weird, it's good. Federico?
Ta, ta,
Ta. Yeah.
ta.
Ta.
I think it should go down. Da.
Ta.
No?
Yeah, this one, right?
Ta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ta.
Da.
Ta.
Ta.
Ta. Ta.
Ta.
Ta.
Ta. Ta. Ta.
Yeah. And this is also ta. 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 Ta.
Ta.
Ta. Yeah. Good. And then?
Ta, ta,
Hmm?
dra,
Ta. Yeah, yeah. Good.
ta,
Ta.
ta, dra.
Ta. Ta. Da. Da. Yeah. Good. Very good, guys. So you got it. So this is the last sub script. Okay. I think I'm just gonna keep going, and since we have 5 days off, just watch this video again and go over the rules again, and perhaps yeah, perhaps we can finish today. Let's see. The pronunciation is very similar to the retroflex, sometimes called cerebral row from the Sanskrit alphabet.
Chuck, sorry, just a question.
Yeah.
There's this rule with the first, third, and fifth row, maybe, I don't know. And then there are some exceptions afterwards, but what happens when it's not among those 9 and not among the exceptions? You would just
for the Ratak?
say, well, I don't know, for example, oh, there's an example. For example, the third example, are you supposed to say sra?
Oh, these ones?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, these are the exceptions. Actually, for these exceptions, nothing happens. It's
Oh,
just
nothing
sa.
happens.
Yeah, it's just sa. And
Oh,
ma.
yeah, right.
Yeah. I didn't write that, huh? I should write that, yeah.
But suppose it's not an an exception. Suppose it's all right. Let's say am with R, if it's possible. Ratak.
Yeah, here
Could
it is.
ma with Ratak happen?
Yeah, here it is actually. So this would be.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's
It
the
would just be
same.
ma.
You're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I wrote the exception, but I forgot to write the how to pronounce it. But basically, if it's in another letter, nothing happens to the sound.
Okay.
Yeah. For example, Mipham Rinpoche is sometimes called Mawe Senge, the lion of speech. I mean, that Ma has a head letter, but it has a Ratak also. Mawa means speech. So Mawe Senge means lion. So one of the names of the Buddha also sometimes are called the lion of speech. But especially for Mipham Rinpoche, they call him Mawe Senge. And that's a Ma with a...
What does that first word mean? Because I've seen that in your signature line, Tashi Delek. What does that mean?
Tashi means auspicious. Tashi means auspicious.
Okay.
De comes from Dewa, which means happiness or bliss. And Lek means good or excellent. So Tashi the Lek means like auspicious, happy and good. Happy, good, goodness, auspiciousness, something like that.
Goodness,
that's great.
auspiciousness, something like that.
That's
So
great.
Tashi the
It's
Lek.
used for a greeting,
Yeah.
right? Like when you're greeting
So
people.
Exactly. It's the equivalent of namaste in Hindi or Nepali. You meet someone and you put your hands together and then you say Tashi the Lek. Then they say Tashi the Lek. It's also you can also use it when you say goodbye. If you're on the phone speaking to a Tibetan friend, you can say, oh, when you finish your conversation, oh, tashi dele, it's tashi dele, and then you can hang up. It also, for example, losar tashi delek, it's Happy New Year. Lo, like I said in the message that sent us, lo is year, sar or sarpa is new, losar. Los Tibetan losar is coming up in a couple of months, 2 months or so, or 1.5 or something. So there we say losar tashi delek, Happy New Year. So it has a few different uses. Yeah. And tashi delek is spelled with a ka. So this is the example for the rule. The reason we pronounce it tashi delek is because of this rule here. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. And then another one popular word is enemy or foe. How would we pronounce this, Kip?
So that's that is a da. Well, first of all, I just break it down. So that's a da and a ga. But it's two together. So I'm assuming that's the ga is the suffix. So you drop the so I'm gonna say that's a dog.
Actually, because the Ratak is there,
Oh,
automatically you know that that's the root letter.
oh, okay. Yeah.
The root letter will always have the attachment. If there was no attachment, then it would be tag. Yeah. But in this case, because you see the attachment, automatically you know, oh, that's the root letter. Yeah.
So that is pronounced.
Check
Is
out
it
this.
is
Check
it
out these rules.
is it dada
Yeah, ja,
ja?
ja, ja. Also goes a little bit higher. This would be pronounced by itself. This would be pronounced ja, like lower. But because there is a prefix, then it's a little bit higher, ja. So the rules also accumulate, even though, don't forget about the the effect that the prefix has. This remains even though we're adding these rules on the top too. So
Yeah.
this is ja. So ja
I'm not
means enemy.
I wasn't hearing a difference. I'm just hearing duh. But you're saying there's a ta and a da sound in there?
For this one,
Yeah.
this is just ja. What the difference I meant is a pitch. So whenever there is a prefix or a head letter, if the letter has a low pitch, in this case the third column, they have a low pitch. These two, it doesn't matter because they're all high pitch. But since this is low pitch, let me go to our chart. So these are low. These are high and high, low and low. So because this is low, this will be da. But then we're saying da, a little bit higher da. It's very subtle, but in your brain, remember, yeah.
Can that be difficult for people getting the pitch? Because I feel like it's difficult. I remember when I tried to learn Mandarin, I really made mistakes.
To be honest, it's not as bad as Mandarin. It's not as bad as Mandarin. Plus, you would get it from the context. I also, to be very honest, I also don't hear the difference half the time, but I get it from the context. Yeah, I get it from the context. It's clear from the context, and if you're confused, you can just spell it out loud, you know.
Okay.
In this case, I would say gao, dao, right? What is the spelling for enemy? I would say dao ga ratak da. Dao ga ratak da. And then say enemy, yeah, enemy. Also, these spellings, a lot of these words will have an extra syllable when we're speaking colloquial. In colloquial, they add a couple more things to make it more clear, you know. So if you're speaking, yeah, you can distinguish it. There's more. It's not just the tone, but for our sake, I'm emphasizing that just so we conceptualize it in that way. Conceptualize how the sound goes.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So that's the general rule, and then the exception. These sa and ma are exceptions, and basically sound remains the same. Oh, actually, I wrote that rule, I guess. Yeah. So the sound doesn't change for these two. Sa and ma remain the same when there is a ratak. And the example is this word. Actually, I'm realizing I made the mistake of adding these examples that have the rule that I still have to cover in the next part. So I have to fix a couple of examples on the text. But this is pronounced say. This is pronounced say. Just know that the sa, there is no ra sound here. Okay. Se means son or daughter. Maybe you guys have heard like Semo. They call the daughter of the Rinpoche, she's called Semo, Semola. Maybe you guys have heard that, I don't know. Semola is like, Semola is the honorific, so Semo is already honorific, so saying Semola is like a double honorific. It's like, oh, she's the Semo. It can also mean princess. She's the princess. Se is the prince. Maybe not. Gyalse is prince actually. Gyalgise, Gyalpogise, the king, the son of the king. But just know that Se is the honorific word for son. A note on honorifics is that we want to cover this later, but just know that the Tibetan system has a whole range of words for honorifics, called shesa in Tibetan, and you use a different word if they're higher social status or your lama or something like that. So this is the honorific of Bu. Bu is the normal son. You're a Bu. Bu is the normal. Okay, the pronunciation is clear here. Yeah. Another exception when there is a Dao. Again, Dao has something that is doing something, I guess, to the letters. Because both we have two exceptions with Dao. We have the exception on the yatak and also on the ratak. So the exception on the Dao yatak, like we said, is yang ing, it turns into a ya. And the exception here, it also turns into a normal ra. So basically, the Dao is just bringing it back to its not that sound of the subscribed letter. You can think of it that way. But this is very uncommon. The only word I can think of is this one, which means ral, to tear, to tear a paper, ral. But it's very uncommon. I besides that word, I've never seen it, and it's not a word that we would use normally.
Well, I'm sure this is a dumb question, but in your expression of the exception, why is the ra superscripted? Why is it? Is there a reason why it's small and high?
I'm sorry, can you say again? I didn't get it.
On that first line, where your pointer is, why is that ra superscripted? Why is it high like that and small?
Oh, it's subscripted, you mean?
Yes.
Why is it?
Why is it that size? I mean, is there a reason why it's small and placed that way on the page?
Oh, this one.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So that's because actually, when I was typing, in order to make this big, I have to increase the size so much, Like if I don't increase the size, this is what happens.
Okay.
Somehow the typing, the Tibetan versus the Latin letters, the Tibetan shrinks.
Okay.
Because the thing is that in Tibetan, we have to the words are hanging from the bottom, Latin letters, we place them they kind of rest on the top, right? But Tibetan is hanging from the top down. And then if there is many yataks, it becomes really long. So I think they need that extra space in case more letters are coming below. I think that's why.
Thank you.
Yeah, but yeah, that's why it looks a little, that's why it's a little bit weird to. I have to like tweak them around so that they kind of fit. Even then, like you can see this is a little bit off too.
Yeah, Kuncho, I can answer this question because
Yes.
of the font that you are using. Most of the font that doesn't go well for Tibetan, especially the English alphabet. So I found one font that actually makes the Tibetan wording and the English alphabet, the size are similar. So it will look much better.
Really?
I will send you the font later.
Oh, please. That would be
Yeah.
great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Very
I
nice.
found that one, which is very good for all my Tibetan textbook.
Oh, then I have to rewrite this whole thing. No. Okay, yes,
And
please
no
do.
problem. Just change the font will do.
Yeah, please do share it. Thank you. So just a note here. Yeah, so if we see these yataks and rataks in the Sanskrit mantra, the pronunciation will be different because we're following Sanskrit pronunciation, but we're not going to cover that. Just know that this will happen. For example, if you see prajya paramita, you cannot write pra in Tibetan, like prajya paramita, no, the perfection of wisdom, but it will be a paratak, this one, and then you would have to say pra if you see it in Sanskrit. But I don't want to confuse you guys. This is not. Don't worry about it. But I have to make a note just in case, just so you know that this exists. You know. So I guess we won't have time to finish these suffix letters, but just so you guys know, down here, these are the rules, not rules, but just a few ways to identify the root letter. You can look through them. There's, I think, 4 or 5 points. How to identify whichever has a vowel sound, or whichever has any attachment. Whenever there is 3, you guys can scan through that. We will cover that properly after we finish all the rules, but just so you know, every time there is an attachment to something, that is the root letter. An attachment meaning something on top or underneath, or the vowel marker. Okay. Are there any questions about what we covered today? No? So please memorize these rules, and next class, for sure, we will finish the last rules, which are basically, we just need to cover three letters of the 3 suffix letters. So ta and sa have a special thing happening, and na also has a special thing happening. And I doesn't do much, but we'll also cover it. I guess we have to cover those 4 letters as suffix, how they affect the sound. And after that, we'll be done. We'll be able to read. So in the meantime, please go through some of those prayer videos, if just to hear the sound from a native speaker. And yeah, go through that purple book, the Chuchu, and enjoy the process of learning. By the way, also, I wanted to mention there is this thing called the Pomodoro technique. Maybe Pomodoro. It's a style, basically, it's a way of timing our study sessions, because there's been a lot of research in the past few years saying that we actually don't learn by studying and studying and studying. We learn when we study for an intensive period of time, and then we allow our brain to take a break. So we don't have to follow the Pomodoro technique. The Pomodoro is just telling you, giving you an exact time frame of how you should do it. I personally don't follow it. I'm not so strict over it, but I do study, and then I just relax and take a break or do some shamatha. Then again, I come back, I study. I'm trying to translate. I'm trying to figure something out. I intensive study, and then after, just relax, look at the sky, go for a walk, take a shower, come back and do it again. So alternating these two modes of the brain really helps to absorb the information. Somehow it sinks it. And it's related to this technique, spaced repetition, which I mentioned before. But it's just a style of studying. You guys can look it up, the Pomodoro technique. But basically, the key is you study and then you take a break and allow your brain to relax. This is very beneficial. And it's also more relaxed. It's more gentle way to retain the information. Okay.
Sir, you just mentioned the space technique. How to look it up? Space.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's called spaced repetition.
Oh, space repetition.
Spaced repetition, yeah. Basically, the spaced repetition, the way it works is just you incrementally, you do increments, longer increments of time every time you are trying to memorize something. For example, if I'm memorizing a new word in Tibetan, say I don't know this word, ja, right? Enemy. So, okay, I learned this new word now, ja, then I set my timer after 1 hour, then I bring it up. Okay, what is the word? And then if I get it, I do it after 2 hours. And then if I don't get it, I do it again after 1 hour. And then if I get it after 2, I do it after 4. If I get it after 4, I do it after 8. So you just keep making it longer and longer, and it forces.
I just recalled.
Yeah, you just remember
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, you told us. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So this is a really great technique also to memorize. But the most important is to see the value in what we are learning and see the value of having access to all this Dharma directly. And this is, I mean, we translate it, but it really is untranslatable. So it's much better to look straight at the book, at the actual text. So keeping that in mind, I think is the best. Yeah. Okay. Now our class is over for today. I will see you guys after a few days. Please memorize all these rules. Okay.
Thank
I'll
you very
say
much.
thank you.
Yeah.
I want to stop the recording and
Thank
then
you.
I'll say our dedication prayer.